All right. Hello. Welcome to Race Brain Podcast. My name is Rich Ryan, joined by Jack Bauer, Bracken Crocker. He's looking good. He's looking lit. BK, you lit today?
Stay litty.
Stay lit, man. You might know these two from as the voices of the OCR report at Seattle Spartan. I turned it on for a second, and Jack's having freaking technical issues.
I was so mad.
I'm pulling my hair out on the other side.
I was
fiddling
livid
with his thing. I'm
that
like,
was our
come
opener,
on, dude.
I dropped the bomb there. So we were talking just like this during our preview, and then while it had the minute loading screen, I just got this super high pitched thing in my earplug out of nowhere, and I was like, "Oh God!" So I unplugged.
That's called a soil shriek.
Yeah, it's settling.
That is.
Yeah, but no, and then I plugged it back in, and I forgot to change it to the Shure M57 or whatever the output we have. Rookie mistake. Right. I own it. It was bad.
We're not here to go over Jack's blunders. 2 weeks in a row that we're just talking about Jack's blunders.
Man.
Well, you want to know who didn't have a blunder? Should we talk about the results of this race in our fantasy draft?
No one had a blunder.
We all crushed.
Someone had the least blunder though in this group.
So we are going to talk about Seattle Spartan Race, the Pan American Championships. For the majority of the episode today, we had two people not on site, but who were locked in. And I was like sort of locked in. I was watching I was checking out the results, but it was definitely an exciting race. It felt like old school excitement for OCR, which I have a couple takes on later on. But we're going to give our takes, what we took away from this events in Seattle. Last week we did draft for this event, and it was just stellar performances across the board. What was it? 23, 24 to 25, right?
Mm-hmm. I woke up and that was the final score. And I woke up and Bracken is like, guys, there's one person left who has to score for each of us. And we have a 3-way tie, or one person's leading by one. Whoever crosses the line next. And I was like, oh crap. I said, I'm not going to do spoilers. And I was like, I have to check the results. And that was so exciting.
I've not been this locked into, we'll call it Athlinks, to an Athlinks result since the infamous Hall of Fame performance of our Athlinks watch along.
Best content we've ever produced.
I had a spreadsheet going that I was updating every checkpoint to see what was going on, just to see what was happening. And the results changed at every checkpoint throughout the race. It was a blowout for Jack for a while, and then I was guaranteed to win. And then in the final sector, I had two people go backwards and you guys had people come up. It was, in the final sector was tough, right? They had that monkey in the middle and they had a rig and they had a spear, but it was as much pins and needles as Athlinks watch along can have.
And that was, so this course took athletes between an hour and a half and 2:15 on the women's side. So it was a long course. That's old school cross country watching. You're counting it up. You're seeing where things are changing over the course of 2 hours. That's entertaining.
We were discussing
in OCR.
We were discussing tiebreakers and stuff. It was that close.
Tiebreakers mattered until the last half mile of the race.
Yeah.
So Jack takes the victory. Unfortunately, he doesn't come around when it's time to draft for High Rocks, when I'm kicking everyone's butt.
He doesn't want any part of me in foreign ultras.
Oh, please. I want all of the above. All right, right here. So we've got the standings. You guys see this?
Yep.
All right. So Rich still in first place. We both have 7 and 5, but Rich has scored fewer
not
points
counting my 4-0 in High Rocks.
Look, you're draft dodging with some of these other races. You just don't want to do that. And Bracken,
you would have been the colorblind draft dodger in real life, so you can't call that out.
I would have been used for night ops because colorblind people actually have better night vision. So maybe I would have got recruited early. But yeah, 4 and 8 Bracken. What's going on?
I mean, that's a tough 2 points cost me the difference between 4 and 8 and 6 and 6.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I was 6 and 6 with 800 meters to go in this race.
Hey,
we're not putting the blame on the athletes.
Ingebrigtsen was leading with 600 meters left in the race, and look what happened.
Yeah, and I would consider myself the Ingebrigtsen of this thing, where I'm just the best, but each year someone finds a way to pop up and just snake it out from underneath me.
Yeah,
my record is not who I am, and I will die on that.
So coming up, we have OCR World Championships potentially. We'll see how things are shaking out. We have Croatia over for the 5K for Spartan, same kind of thing. Like we'll see what the field looks like. I would imagine that's going to look good. The short course in Croatia.
I know, like Mark Botras, Sean Roberts, a few guys from US are showing up, but they'll be good.
Yeah, they're lying to you. And then we have High Rock stuff coming, which is great because we can know exactly who's going to be there and we can watch the race the whole way through. And we can just like be like, we know what's going on here, which is, you know, and then trifecta. I don't know about that, dude.
We'll see.
I don't know about that.
These are just the big events. All right.
World's Toughest, which is always fun. And a couple more High Rocks events. Deca World Championships will be fun as well. Spartan World Championship Beast. I don't know, dude.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yes. We can't say I don't know about the Spartan World Championship.
We're saying I don't know.
We just hyped up how exciting the Athlinks watch along was. Like, imagine this draft again being that excited if we don't have live coverage again. We've got to do a draft for that.
I'm sure you haven't seen it, and I haven't seen it either, but you've seen on Netflix and on advertisements online that God's Not Dead movie. And you just there's the cover, someone standing there with a sign that says God's Not Dead. Spartan Pro Racing is not dead.
All right, we're into the takes.
That's what this weekend showed. So
don't
you dare say, we'll see about Spartan World Championships. They are not dead.
We're gonna see. So is Baylen Bean gonna go? Is Brendan Neely gonna go?
Baylen Bean was there last year
in Abu Dhabi.
Yes, he got like 20th or so.
Right. So you go back. Is Sean Roberts going to go? Is Nick Mass going to go? Are any of these athletes that we just saw, are they going to be there?
Gregory Basilico should be there.
Did any of the athletes that I just said?
This is negative right away.
This is just the thing that's happened with OCR. And I hate that I'm feeling this way about it, but I'm just not compelled to follow the way that I used to follow because I'm not going to be able to see the matchups that we have been able to see in the past. Right. It's like everything's a one-off at this point. And yeah, it's great. Like this event was so fun and so cool here, but this was standalone. The races before this, like we didn't really get to watch. I didn't really know what Brendan Neely versus Baylen Bean was going to look like. I didn't really know how Ethan Brown and Jonathan Stern all the way down through like 15. Like I didn't know what it was going to look like in any way. Right. And now it's like, we have these results and like, do I need to watch beyond the results? Is kind of how I'm feeling about it because it doesn't really have any bearing on what's going to happen next.
So if we're doing a track and field analogy, are you kind of in the camp where you wish it was more like the men's 400 hurdles where you see Karsten, Dos Santos, Rai Benjamin go head to head a lot, but it's more like the women's 400 hurdles where we very rarely see the top dogs going against each other. You only see Femke Bol and Sydney McLaughlin rarely. And that's kind of how the current state of OCR is. You wish that we had more continuity and head-to-head matchups against the best people instead of just like a one-off.
Yeah, and at least we did get to see Sydney versus Femke.
That's the thing. We know who's better.
But we get to see it, right? And it's like it could be this build up. It's like, oh, when this happens, it's gonna be great. In OCR right now, there is no real build up.
Yeah, because how many of these athletes were in at FISO in Costa Rica like a month ago? Another major race. Like you had
Hosek, right?
A handful, Nicole,
and they didn't race anybody. It's almost like if it were. Let me see if this is going to make sense. Let me see if I can get a fighting analogy out of this, BK. If someone was bouncing back and forth between like UFC and Bellator, and they were like fighting in each, like the top person, but they weren't fighting within the same like kind of bracket. And so I can't really tell. It's like, okay, Nicole ran here, she ran down there. What does that mean about this field and that field? And we can't see it all together. It's like, how do we rank all of this?
We need a unified champ. We need to unite the belts.
Isn't that what OCR World Championships is?
No.
Or has been in the past?
No. I don't know if it's... I can't remember the last time it was since Canada.
I was going to say
Canada.
16 or 17.
The UK?
That felt like the time.
Yeah, when was the UK? That was 18, 19?
18 and 19 in the UK, but you didn't have the full US squad go over there or North American squad. And I feel like Canada, everybody from Europe came over and everybody from South Africa and Australia, you had people showing up. I think Canada, you're probably right, Bracken. That was the last time.
Yeah.
Well, in this,
Rich was there.
You know it.
The sport seems to go as the #1 in the world goes. When Hobie decided that he was going to race everything, everyone who was anyone came out to go up against Hobie. When Nicole and Lindsay were doing their thing, they were at everything, especially Lindsay. She raced everything.
Mm-hmm.
And so you showed up. And the next person showed up to try to race her, and the person below them showed up to race them, and it just went down. When Atkins was racing every race, Kempson was at every race. When Kempson was at every race, you had the next step of people all the way down the line doing that. And so it starts at the top in our sport. And right now, we're not sure who the top is. Without that alpha dog just staking their claim and saying, I'm the best and I'm racing it all. We're really not sure. Basilico might be it. Hawk might be it, but we haven't seen them in the same spot. People aren't turning up to race Hawk the way they turned out to race Hobie. And maybe they need a statement world championship for that to happen.
And I mean, it's driven by the professionalism of the sport, right? It seemed like Lindsay, Ryan, Hobie, they were making a career out of this, where now it's like, can Baylen Bean really do that? You know, can he afford, like, I don't know what maybe he could afford it, but like, is it going to put him in a better financial position to travel to Abu Dhabi or help his profile in the grand scheme of things? Like,
no one's going to complain about a $5,000 paycheck, but compared to wasn't West Virginia like 8 or 12,000 one year, and U.S. National Series race, I think they were paying 10 deep with 3,000 as the winner as of a couple of years ago. It's not the same as it used to be.
And yet it was always kind of fool's gold. There were really only 2 to 4 people actually making a living.
Yeah. But there were people doing it.
But the rest of us thought we could.
Right.
And the illusion of that was enough that we were all in, moving to different states. Like, how many of us did that? Jack, you kind of did that.
I got laid off
for the same reason, but you came to the same spot.
Jack went pro.
I was like, Bracken did it. I can do it. So,
yeah. Kent did it. I did it. Rose did it. We're just talking people who came to that one spot. Benny did it. You know, KK did it. People were uprooting and moving to the mountains. Yeah. But we all have this dream post collegiate to pursue it. And we didn't even care how real it was. You're saying there's a chance. And we went after it. And very few of us really even made it, right? But we did it.
And you could sustain for a little bit.
And you could piecemeal it. You can't piecemeal it anymore.
And yeah, like,
let's say you win everything now. What's your total prize? You get first place at 0 at FISO. You get 5,000 here, maybe 2,500 at 2 different national series races. So you're up to like 10,000, and then you win.
Maybe make 40 grand, maybe if you win everything.
And then it gets taxed at a very high rate.
Stuff matters out.
Well, the Spartan pays 20.
Oh, if you count a Lula.
If you count a Lula, you're raking it in.
Yes.
But like, there is still the chance. I don't know what kind of support these athletes are getting in terms of brand sponsorships. I would imagine it's much worse than what it was back when. But
just like, to put it in perspective, we joke around by keeping me in this rankings, and we just keep extending the rankings to keep me in it.
No, Bracken.
18th of all time.
Exactly.
You might have been 16th at one point. Now you're 18th. Like,
yeah, and yet if it wasn't me on the show, I wouldn't be in the conversation. Like, we understand that I was good, not great, right? Can we say that?
What is it? What is great?
Yeah.
I was the link. There was a great pack and there was a good pack, and I sat in between the two. I was the original, like,
a bald thing or something.
Yeah. Right. So I was never a threat to win a world championship. Can we agree on that?
At one point, I think if there was a short course one, you would have.
Yeah, but there wasn't.
Get drafted in the first round.
There was once.
It wasn't even a real world championship.
Did you win OCR Warrior World Champs?
That wasn't a real world championship.
They're about that because you won.
Okay, so let's say the 2 short course world championships they put on. Between the 2, I won $2,700. All right, that's not a world championship. It just can't be. But to put in perspective, someone who is good, not great, sub top level, I had multiple years between 20 and 30K of prize money. All right. You would have to win everything outside of a Lula now to do that. And I was never a threat to win anything of note. I was getting by on their table scraps, 20 to 30K a few times in my career of just winnings. And I wasn't good or marketable enough to get sponsorships. So nowadays, with some sponsorships, with winning everything, you're going to fight to be the best in the world for what the table scraps guy used to get. It's not there like it used to be.
Yeah, I mean, that's what's so challenging about this. And that's why it's harder for me to watch, not because they're not like these athletes aren't getting paid or whatever it needs to be. It's the byproduct of the competition is because they're not getting paid, and is because there's not opportunity like there once was. Even just when we started this thing, however long ago, right? When it was really exciting to see these athletes battle throughout the entire series, North American Championship, World Championship. We got to see it, right? It was a season and there was some continuity, and Spartan was a leading charger there, and there'd be these one-offs that would be fun, but at least there was something that we could follow. And now they're just one-offs. They're just like, they're almost all like TMX.
2022 was one of the most exciting seasons that I've ever seen. And that was like right around when we were starting, and you had everybody still doing it. And it was still a pick or choose where, you know, best 3 out of 5 or 4 out of 5, whatever it was. But you had just new blood in the sport. You had a different guy on every single podium spot, virtually every single race. Emma Cook-Clark and Annie emerged. It was such an exciting time. And now it's like you have all these new faces, but you don't have the old ones to make that comparison. And that's what we're losing out on, unfortunately, because how good would Baylen Bean have been? How good would Hawk Hall have been if he showed up and all the other dogs showed up? He easily could have still won, because Ryland had won a North American regional championship and he was there, and Baylen just took him down. And like, it's just a bummer that you don't get to see those head-to-heads anymore.
And so, it doesn't take much, right? It's not going to take much to bring that back, because to use the example, no one's quitting their real job for 20K. If I came to you, Rich, and said, I've got this startup, I need you to come leave your job, work for me, I can promise you between 20 and 30K. You're going to say, not a chance.
Man. No, to work with you, though.
Minimum wage is going to get you more than 20K a year.
Burger King.
So you're not going to do it. But if it's a chance at a dream, and you know that's 20 is enough that I can also work part-time at a shoe store and live the quote-unquote pro runner life, I will go after that. That doesn't take much from the industry to sustain like 6 people at 20K a year. And those 6 mean that the next 6 will go after it in order to race them.
And it's just a marketability thing. I mean, like, yeah, we talk about like how this could potentially roll into something, but we've just kind of seen it go up and down. And that kind of leads me to there's some conversations that we've been a part of on my periphery online, and USAOCR is hosting a fundraiser to kind of crowdsource these type of things now, which I think is a good option at this point, because people like us, like the people who are listening to this show, do still care. So we'll see if they care enough, you know, to help support these athletes, because that's kind of what they're doing now is looking to the community to help fund this. And maybe there could be some sort of comeback where these federations can kind of put things into place, and there could be some sort of unified season or championship where that it can bring attention back to the athletes and to the sport. But right now it's kind of coming down to like a fundraiser. So I just wanted to plug that. Like USAOCR is doing a fundraiser right now. So I got that link down in the show notes for that. I need to donate myself here. Write that off, baby.
This is the show of faith, right? This is an important moment, because if all the people like myself who just moan and whine about this industry,
me too,
also don't pay anything towards this, we don't really want it. Right. If we can't come up with enough money to put on prize money at the USAOCR Championships that's happening down in Georgia in about a month, if we can't come up with like a few grand just amongst the loyal diehards as a show of faith, then we don't deserve it anymore. We don't deserve to even have the argument anymore, because then we're just complaining to complain.
This is the Jack Bauer. Oh my God. Around the horns off the air. What are we going to do? Not watch.
Not watch.
Not watch.
No, I'll give a little more info just on this race, because it still is 4 weeks away. And Bracken, you just said it's going to be in Georgia. It's hosted by Phoenix Race, October 12th and 13th. And they're going to be a 3K and a 5K distance. Ian Hosick, who he and his wife Stacy, they're pretty heavily involved in it. Ian told me that it's going to be more like a savage race level difficulty. So don't expect easier Spartan stuff. If you like some pretty challenging rigs, but not, completely impossible, that's probably what you're going to get there. They're going to have the 3-band system for failures, 1 penalty loop per band. 3 failed non-mandatory obstacles will result in a did not complete. And there will be trained officials, which we've seen throughout this season, whether it's in hybrid or OCR, lack of official knowledge definitely affects things. But Phoenix Race has done a good job for several years out there, and they'll have, the appeal and protest process. Hopefully that won't be used because we saw that at FISO, but this is just kind of some of the other stuff that they've had. Prize money, as you discussed, it's going to depend on this group crowdsourcing, I guess, if you want to call it that. And it will be paid in a timely fashion, and they're going to have some pretty sweet medals and finisher t-shirts. So yeah, reach out to Ian Hosick and USAOCR if you have any more questions. And just one more clarification, FISO World Obstacle, which a lot of people, don't have the best opinion of, they're the international federation. USAOCR is the international federation. So they're a member of FISO, but FISO does not control any of their actions. They don't dictate what they do. And so it's basically USAOCR's option if they want to follow international standards or not. So that's just a little clarification on that, because I know that World Obstacle doesn't have the best reputation at the moment.
And this is a step in a positive direction, right? It's like, what else can we do? Unifying together and having something that is just of the same season, that funnels into the same area. I like it. I think that I like that race format too. I think that's always one that has made a little bit more sense to me as opposed to the mandatory completion. There's some athletes that are definitely going to go down there and throw down, and probably similar to what we saw for Team USA, who went down the FISO, similar athletes for that. But this is if this is the competition that we are going to have that will lead to an actual world champion and an actual world championship, then people need to stop doing Spartan and start doing this stuff.
Yeah. And OCR Worlds is on the West Coast a week before this. So if you live on the East Coast, you just don't want to make that trip to California, you have an option in Georgia on the East Coast on second week of October. So should have some good competition, hopefully.
A couple just bullet points. First, start with a question. I think you said 3K, 5K.
15K, 3K, and 15K.
Want to clarify that's 15K. Second is that
4K,
400,
5K,
40 meter, 60 meter,
80, 120.
Second is that they have reached out to other races, and races are bringing obstacles on board. So It's a bit reminiscent of original OCR World Championships.
Good.
Also, just as note, it's cool to hear about officials. This is not directed at them, but just in general, I'm in just the I'll believe it when I see it range. I just don't have any confidence in any officials anymore in the sport of endurance OCR hybrid, but it's cool that they're at least trying to make a point of emphasis on this.
They should just go with the old that Dave Claxton's doing now. No reviews.
No reviews.
Just finish the race, and that's what it is. Change this for the better. Like that. If I'm going to start complaining, let's turn these complaints on.
Yeah, the challenge, and again, I want to reiterate that I support this event, especially once I've heard that it is not symbiotic, connected with an umbilical cord up to Ian Adamson. Ian Hosick would never go on record and talk against him, but I will. I do not support World Obstacle, but the fact that USAOCR is not reliant upon them and is not beholden to them is a positive in my mind. And so I have gone from on the fence to in support of this event.
Hey, that's great.
That's turning a frown upside down.
That's great.
Big smile.
All right, so let's talk about the results here in Seattle. We had Lean Mean Baylen Bean taking down the W for his first Pan American Championship. Last year, Pan American Championship was 3K, and that was the first year we had this
in Mexico. Yes,
in Mexico.
It's been North American Regional Championship before. That was in West Virginia, Tahoe, Kelowna.
Yes,
and then last year was the 3K distance. First time it wasn't a beast. That was in Mexico, and now they're back on U.S. soil with the beast. I guess they're calling it the PanAm because they just kept the name.
Right. Yes. So our second ever Pan American champion, following VJ Jones' footsteps, Brendan Neely takes second. Rylan Shadegg finishing third. Sean Roberts, Manuel Dufox finishing fifth. And Nick Mask, our guy, finishing in sixth. On the women's end, Nicole Mericle takes the win, followed by Lauren Weeks, Cassandra Gills third, Rose Wetzel fourth, Casey Monroe finishing in fifth, Jordan Hossladen in sixth. Let's start with, I don't know, BK, where are we starting? What kind of takes you got?
No, Rich. We saw this already. You tell us what you thought of the race. Because we spent an hour and a half, 2 hours on OCR Report watching this. We haven't heard your opinion yet.
So you want the least locked in to lead off?
That's I don't know. Just yeah.
Well, I was just impressed on how aggressive Baylen Bean was and how he was able to maintain that type of aggression throughout. He put the hurting on everybody, and Brendan Neely is the only one who really decided to challenge. So I was very impressed with Baylen on this, and it's just my take is like bummer, like good for him, but also sucks that he wasn't at this form
last year,
6 years ago.
Yeah.
You know, that he's someone who would be in the mix against those fields, you know, like, I don't know, who's Baylen's player comp from like 2015 to 19.
Bracken said form-wise, I asked him the question, and there's no like perfect mirror image to him, but he said he runs a little bit like Woods.
Only in his lower leg action out in front of his body. That was the only thing I could come up with. Okay. In terms of player comp, honestly, watching this is going to sound terrible, right? Watching him run and move, he's a better me.
All right.
Like, he looked athletic. He's not like a prancing runner. He's kind of a churner. He runs with his arms, but I was never that fast. Like maybe Kent in Seattle was reminiscent of that, where he just charged through all the terrain, no matter what there was. But no, I don't think we have a Baylen Bean player comp. He seems very good on obstacles, very athletic, and he's relatively aggressive through pretty nasty stuff. I don't know. I was just impressed more than seeing, you know, echoes of ghosts out there.
I guess if
maybe.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like more like where if we dropped him into that race, is he competing with like Tyler Veerman? Is he?
I think anybody with how he was running this course.
Ryan Atkins, like, is he going to win? You know what I mean? Is he finishing fighting for the podium, or is he finishing like,
I don't know,
podium
probably 7th?
There's only one thing that made me question anything about this race, and that was Rylan Shadegg. Rylan started out relaxed, really got to work in the middle, and at one point had it down to what looked like maybe under a minute.
Oh no, he was like on the obstacle, touching it after Baylen got off.
And so Rylan's at reduced capacity endurance wise right now, and in theory cardiovascularly, and Rylan made up minutes with, we're not sure what sort of capacity. So that was the only thing that gave me pause, which is that Rylan got beat, so is being the greatest, but he also made up time really rapidly when he got to work. So I don't know where it ranks.
Right. Do you think that this was necessarily a cardio-based race? Because it seemed like a lot of bushwhacking, a lot of broken running. You think, despite the rhythm breakers and stuff, that if you're at a reduced, you know, cardiovascular capacity at the moment, you don't think that having a little bit of broken running is going to help you out?
Oh, it'd help for sure. Yeah. But I like Manuel Defoe put some things in perspective. It was obviously a great race, and visually Baylen passed the sight test. He looked
on step one
good. Yeah. But suddenly Rylan was just there, and I don't know how or why.
Did Rylan miss something later?
Olympus, I think. And then he got on the rig right as Brendan Neely finished. So he basically took a penalty loop, and those penalty loops, the one that we saw with the farmer's carry and then having to do a low crawl in the middle of it, I was a huge fan of that at Monkey in the middle. I don't know how the rest of them were, but Bracken or Rylan did fall off Olympus, so had some penalty.
Olympus is buns. Hate
the
that
rain.
So my question is then, what does this race mean? Where does it rank? Because up until Mexico, and I'll have two stats here. The first, and then they both need to be fact checked by Jack, but counting Mexico, I don't think we've ever had someone win a regional championship that's not a first ballot Hall of Famer.
So I think I read it on the broadcast that we had several different, or we had 5 different winners in 5 years, and nobody who had previously won on the men's side was going to be in this race. So yeah, we had Killian in 18.
What about Rylan?
You're right. Okay, fact check. There we go. So yep, Rich got me. Killian in 18, 19 Woods, 21 at Tahoe, Atkins, Rylan, Kelowna, 22, VJ, Mexico, 23. So
and same thing on the women's side. No one that was not a first ballot Hall of Famer has ever won a regional championship. And then if we take a look at podiums, no one has ever gone top 3 until Mexico that I believe also would be a Hall of Famer in our sport. So historically, if you wind up on the podium at this race, you are a all-time great. Now, Mexico changed that, being short course and foreign soil, and maybe time is going to tell with the athletes who took second and third. But where does this rank? Is this closer to Mexico or is this closer to old time? Like, what does it mean to have made a podium here with who's there?
Well, we did have Sean Stevens well get third in Kelowna. Is he Hall of Famer?
He's not currently. He's getting hosed by the current state of the sport because he was coming into his own right as the sport decided that they didn't have any need for him anymore.
Yeah.
But he beat Atkins.
Sean.
But he beat Atkins that day. Yeah, it's interesting. Where does this rank in terms of if we were to rank how competitive all of the championships were? Like 18 and 19 were very competitive.
Yes. 2021, you had some people go to Stratton for OCR Worlds and some people go to Tahoe that same year. Remember, Lindsay went to Vermont and Atkins.
That's what this one reminds me of.
I think that's fair.
Neely is like
Josh Reed. Josh Reed got 4th that day.
And if he doesn't with a brother out, he takes
with a bro. Yeah, exactly. Right. Who was it? Did Josh get 3rd or 4th?
Angel was 3rd.
Angel got 3rd.
Yep.
And it was who was?
You had first
Woods.
Atkins and second Woods.
Oh wow. Yeah.
Yeah. That's kind of like this.
And that year on the women's side, you had Emma, Annie, and Rhea. So you're missing Nicole, you're missing Lindsay, but those other 3 are Hall of Famers. So, but we're talking about the men's race at the moment, I guess.
So that's a good question that maybe we talk about later. Is Annie a Hall of Famer yet?
Yeah.
Well, it depends on which Hall of Fame we're talking about. How easy is it to get in? I mean, she has a world podium.
Mm-hmm.
Two, or she got 4th one year, 2nd and 4th, or she got 3rd.
2 and 3.
2 and 3,
so,
right?
Yeah.
So that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Hall of Fame, I don't know.
What she's done is very, 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 very hard to top.
Emma Clark being a Hall of Famer is like,
she's like Patrick Mahomes at the moment, well, without the world titles, but it's like, has he done enough in 6-7 years?
Terrible
bad comp. I'm saying someone who's had
Josh Allen,
Mike Trout.
Mike Trout might be the greatest baseball player we've ever seen.
He was like,
what's he done for the past few years?
Just because you can't do the championship thing for.
He gets hurt and he gets
baseball.
Hurt. I figured that would be similar.
Nice try.
All right.
Player comp game is weak today, Jack.
It's
come on.
Ever since my Dwight Howard moment.
All right, takes. BK, what was some other takes on your end?
Spartan is at its best when the running is broken. Spartan is at its best when the courses are gnarly. Now we didn't get to see a lot of the course, and it was still more engaging to me than watching slow San Luis Obispo. It just is there is something about Spartan that is just unearthed by nasty terrain and by challenging conditions. And the fastest of the runners out there will not like this take, but we're at our best as a sport when the fastest runners are brought down to earth a little bit and the sub fastest runners are brought up to the sky a little bit, and they meet in the middle where there is fast running, but there's also other on course. I really believe that after watching this.
Yeah.
I think that's fair. I think that's how Spartan was, and that was really the appeal for a lot of people getting in the Spartan in the first place. With their high end isn't as high as those who can run well on the roads. Test of grit and being able to handle things that get thrown at you. Like, we didn't expect this to be this much bushwhacking or to be this crazy.
No.
How did they get that climb that they were going up with the rope? I was like, where is that?
Mm-hmm.
Like, how did they find this?
Did you see how cut up people's legs were and stuff? some of those stories after. Oh
no.
And it was encapsulated by watching them come through that swamp section and Baylen, you know, splashing through, takes off bounding, and then hits the road and just starts flying again. And it's like that right there is, if I could just like encapsulate one moment to say this is what an OCR athlete is, it was that. It was the ability to get through the worst of it and still be a pretty darn good runner when the flats came around and be able to go back and forth between the two. That it was just cool. We haven't seen that image since probably Jacksonville of 21. We haven't really seen that image before.
Yeah. Just to add on to this, I was talking with Sean Roberts a little bit, and I won't read the exact quote, but basically he said something along the lines that he has to stop expecting that Spartan Race is going to favor just fast runners, because Spartan is essentially who navigates terrain the best. And I think that that's a really good way of putting it.
Yeah, totally.
People will never agree about it because it always, whoever benefits from it will be like, yup. And the people who are like, this isn't running, you're not testing my running, will always have a valid point. But I don't think it's about the best test of running. It's about, this is the best test of what Spartan Race is. It's the differentiator between Savage. It's the carries and the terrain. Like, we have these other venues for that other style. If you want to see rhythm running, go do it somewhere else. And I don't mean like get out of here. I mean, like, there's a venue for that. Let's keep Spartan. And that might be their chance at reclaiming their past glory.
And they will attract the athletes who want to race that way. Like, you know, Sean Roberts stepped away from Spartan for a while, and now he's back because it seems like he still wants to compete. But yeah, he's coming to that realization. It's like, this is just not, like, it doesn't matter how fast. It doesn't matter what kind of engine he has underneath. It's just like going to be this broken, shitty, gritty, wet,
terrain
cold
navigation.
Yeah, just
you probably went through that yourself, Rich. Just
I hate Spartan.
But that was one of the beauties of it, is that like when you leave Savage Race, you know what skill you need to work on. Generally, I need to be faster and I need to just flow through obstacles better. But that's like rinse and repeat until the end of your Savage career. Where Spartan, you can get really good at something and get to a course and be like, well, I didn't have that thing, and now I have to go do that thing. And then a couple of races later, like, I'm awesome again. And then, well, all right, there's this new style of navigating terrain that I don't know how to do.
Right.
My engine doesn't translate. You don't run into that in Savage. You run into a rev limiter.
Yes.
Yep.
Right. So I think I like that, BK. I think that's spot on. This is what Spartan Race is, and this is what we enjoy about Spartan Race, is seeing how people do handle this and seeing how athletes, like how what's the courses with the horses
for courses.
Horses for courses.
That is a lot like what Spartan is, right? And this is a old school test of that. Like, I think, would you pick Nick Mask #1 overall, Jack, right?
Brackett did.
BK did, expecting that it was going to be like Seattle of the past, and all of a sudden it's something that, like, Nick Mask, who is
him
outside of Sean, I mean, but for a half marathon distance, I mean,
might be the fastest.
Nick could probably run with Sean for that, right?
He averaged 5:15. I don't know if Sean's doing that right now.
Sean's a beast. I bet he could. But just that, and it's like it's like kind of in his neck of the woods. Like, he has some, and it just wasn't
won here twice.
He's won here twice, the fastest beast ever or whatever.
Yeah.
But it just sending him up some crazy terrain right off the jump and being like, okay, now you're behind. What are you going to do? And never giving him that chance to get out and run. It's just
like, we're going to let you run for 5K, but first you're going to have to do something else for 5K. And that's very Spartan, right?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. I think a lot of athletes probably watched the old National Series covers when they had Seattle here, even the ones in September where you're like, it's going to be cold, it's going to be wet. I'm prepared. We saw a lot of people with jackets, gloves. They knew that. But I don't think that the terrain was anything similar, especially for the first 3-4 miles of this course, to what anybody was expecting. Like, you should have worn pants to save your legs. I'm sure Cassandra Gill, who had pants on, was probably the only one who didn't get super cut up like everyone else.
Did you see the shoes at the start line, Rich?
No, what were they?
I think I saw 5 people in Nike Ultra Flies.
What?
The trail.
I see. Yes.
That shoe makes a lot of sense for the course that Nick's won the last 2 or 3 years. It makes a lot of sense. You wouldn't show up in that shoe to old school Seattle.
I don't think I'm familiar with that one. I was thinking Zagama right off the jump from those.
Yeah,
those
this has their
Zoom
Max. It's got a very stiff plate. It's wider 4-foot, but it's basically a trail, their version of a ultra super shoe. You're just not bringing that through a river. That's not what you would bring. No. And people brought it because they expected one style of course, and they got another.
Right. Jack, what's the take? What do you got?
Well, just to piggyback off what you said, the courses for horses for different courses. Baylen Bean just had a National Series podium, or 2 of them earlier, at mountain, dry West Coast races, and he comes to a relatively flat, extremely technical, wet type of course and still destroys everybody. Like, just the versatility. I was super impressed with that.
Mm-hmm.
He took his lumps last year in that 3K. He was like, I know I'm gonna be good at Spartan. And they were like, how about a 3K? He's like,
with double sandbags.
Try. I'll give it a go. But now we're really seeing what he's capable of. You know, we know he's a great trail runner and a great mountain runner, and got some grit too. Got some technical know-how. Can obviously go out and hurt early.
Yeah, he came to Fort Carson last year and annihilated everybody. I didn't run the race last year because I had my broken knee. I would have lost to him, obviously. But just seeing the time that he ran on Fort Carson, I'm like, this guy can just go through, terrain that trashes you. So wasn't really surprised to see him be able to run this. But I think his reputation as just a really good mountain runner. You saw him go right with Hawk Call. He's the only one who goes out with them, even ahead of Chris Brown in some of these mountain races early on. Just he's got another skill set that we didn't know about.
Yeah. And that's the only thing we haven't seen Hawk do yet. We know he can run technical.
Kelowna was very, very technical, in my opinion. I know
we know he can run technical, but we haven't seen him in soup. We haven't seen him in running rivers and swamps.
That first mile of Kelowna was just literally in and out of swamps.
Not like this.
Not okay. It wasn't river wading, I guess, but
yeah. That doesn't take anything
Carolina kind of course where it would be or
fair enough.
Jacksonville.
Yeah, that doesn't take anything from Hawk, but what it does is it puts another check in Baylen's column that he can do this as well. His resume is getting more and more impressive and well rounded.
You guys want a race brain trivia?
Oh, race brain teaser.
Haven't done it for a while.
Let's do it.
So I was looking at the list of athletes who have 3 podiums at a NBC National Series or regional championship in the same year, like big US based races. Which athletes on the men's side have done that, have had at least 3 in the same year now that Baylen Bean has joined them?
We have Hobie, Atkins, Woods.
Those 3, yep.
And
there are 10.
Killian,
yeah.
You're saying who are the athletes who summarize that again?
So for instance, Woods, he had at least 3 US National Series or NBC, whatever you want to call it, and or a North American Regional Championship podium in the same calendar year. So Baylen Bean, he now has
3
Big Bear
total
plus
wins.
Utah.
Okay.
Yeah, podiums. So now Baylen has Utah, Big Bear, and Seattle. So 3 in the same year at big races.
Kent must have done that, right?
Kent did not.
Oh, what a bum.
Did Yatsko get 3?
No.
You got 2?
3, really? You said Atkins?
Hunter
did in 2016. He had 3.
So you said Hobie, Atkins, Hunter.
So far you have Hobie, Hunter, Killian, Atkins, Woods. So you have half of the people.
You don't think Cody?
Cody did in 2015. He had 4.
I'm just going to fire off all the greats.
That's my point, that Baylen is on a list with these type of names.
Well, let's go out to the top. VJ
twice, 2021 and 2022. He had 3 each season.
Albin,
no. Who? Kempson. Yeah, he did in 2019. He had 3.
2019.
2 left.
He was cooking that year. This is just US?
North America. Yeah, basically US, yeah. Early and late. Those are the hints that I'll give you.
Did I do Isaiah do it?
Nope.
I don't think so.
Want me to just tell you?
Yeah.
Rylan?
Matt Novakovic in 2014, he had 3. And last year's champ, Manuel Defoe.
3K.
Thirds.
I know.
Third.
Technicality. But the point is, look at those names that he has now joined a list with. And he's 22, 23 years old. Good things are coming. Yeah.
The only, and that's great. It really is. But the only thing is that this is clearly not the same era.
Those guys are not on.
Look at who won each one of those series compared to this year. This is not taking anything away from Ethan Brown. He earned it in this season. He was a minute
behind Nick Mask in this race. That's an incredible performance, honestly.
It's an incredible performance. And what place did he take in the North American Championship?
7th. Yeah. Oh, first in the series. Points,
right. He won the series, took 7th when the big dog showed up. Like, he's a really, really good athlete. But compared to everyone else who's ever won a North American Championship, there's a difference in athlete level. And he'd be the first to admit that. Like, the winners of the North American Championship series, the Atkins, Hobies, who else did Killian win one? Like, their first ballot. He's the first non-first ballot Hall of Famer to win a North American Championship.
He can't help that he was like in 7th grade. You know, when all this was going
this
down.
Has nothing to do with Ethan at all. He deserves all the props for what he's done this year.
Baylen?
They set up a system, and he went out and he won it. But the fields are
Rich was talking about
Baylen
not being able to face them in their prime.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. That's a great race brain teaser, Jack.
What about the women's side?
Let's talk about the ladies.
You want the same race brain teaser? Because I have that also, but
you got that locked down. Let's talk.
I don't think it's as good of trivia.
I did trivia last night, Jack.
How'd you do?
Went to a trivia and I did okay. We were sitting in the podium. Okay. And we blew it in the final round. I got sports. I can do music. I can do movies.
Yeah.
I can do some science, but then there was
what was like the hardest question that, or the one that you screwed up, cost you that podium? You remember the question roughly?
There was not one, but we just let it all.
Okay.
Let it all fall.
Give us one sports teaser one. See if Bracken and I can figure it out.
The sports one, they had 2 baseball questions, which I was like lame, but I did okay on. And then Super Bowl 1, Green Bay Packers were the winner. Who did they beat and where did they play?
They beat the Chiefs.
Vikings were Super Bowl 3. I think it was the Chiefs. Was that the Frozen, the Ice Bowl or whatever?
It was not, but that was correct. It was the Chiefs.
Okay. Bracken's got it.
Where? Man.
The Super Bowl is always neutral. Let's go Cotton Bowl. I know that's college, but I don't know what stadiums were around back then.
I mean, there's a good guess. There was the Coliseum in LA.
Coliseum. Didn't know that.
Or whatever.
Nice job.
Packers Chiefs.
I didn't know.
Gotta have it.
Yeah.
I didn't know. That's a layup for you.
Yeah.
That's your
country.
Yeah. All right. Nicole Mericle takes that win, and she's the only woman athlete to dip under 2 hours at 1:58.49. Lauren Weeks, pushing sleds, doing the ski erg in the middle of the Seattle course. She carried a ski erg to the top of that climb, 1,000 meters, descended with it, finishing second. Cassandra Gill finishing third. Rose Wetzel, Casey Monroe. This kind of played out pretty close to what we had called, right? Like, I think I took Cassandra Gill and was like, she could be on the podium.
It was a soft prediction, but it hit.
That's a Jack prediction right there.
I
one time said something nice about this athlete, so give me a pat on the back.
Give me the credit. Yeah.
The thing that I said. So I'm taking that credit.
There you go, Rich. Yeah.
Rose went out hot. Have any word on Rose's race strategy here?
I was not expecting to see her the first one emerge at that water crossing.
No. Visually, she was either trashed at the end or she was limping. She was not getting any lift off the ground, and she looked, I don't know, what's the opposite of unencumbered? Was she encumbered? Was she cumbered?
Take away the there you
go. She looked, her legs looked cumbersome by the end. Yeah. And it looked like someone who's rolled an ankle or something, which Rose has been known to do, but she had some pep in her step early on.
She was posting.
She must be fit.
Yeah, she was posting that she saw like the chiropractor. I think she had the calf strain or something earlier this week. So that could have been what you were alluding to, Bracken. But early on, she looked pretty fit.
But Nicole eventually, the cream rises to the top. Nicole has put together a pretty solid season as of right now, taking podium finishes in basically every championship race she's been a part of.
Not 3K. FISA.
Oh, she didn't. Where did she end up there? She was
5th or 6th.
Or the 5th. Yeah. Okay. So she's still she is the top athlete here in the United States in Pan America.
Defending champ.
Not surprising.
This race, yeah.
Not surprising to see her finish there. And Lauren Weeks is she's just good. She's just a beast. She's just got grit. She's just fit as can be. She's the fittest person out there. Across the board, right? And to be able to
it on the show.
That,
yeah.
If you took this field and then did a high rocks and you just had your 2 times together, is your score?
Can she make up 5 minutes? Yes.
Oh, yeah. Easily.
How much does she win? Is the disparity between them and her is greater than between her and them in their thing versus her thing? It's crazy.
Kraken thinks it might be a 15-minute swing at that point. Is Nicole running a 73? Because that's what it would take.
I don't think so.
I don't think she's moving the sleds.
I don't think so.
I don't know. The closest we've seen to this is when Kent and Hunter ran San Luis Obispo when they were in high rock shape.
And they were 8th and 9th.
They did good.
They did well. Yeah.
They were. Yeah. I thought they finished a little higher. I thought they were. No.
And your man's Logan, I think, was 10th.
Yep. But they were right up in the mix running with really good people. And that was a much deeper field. But that's the closest we've seen to this. And this was a much longer race on much worse terrain. Like you rhythm run in high rocks. You rhythm run in San Luis Obispo. There's just not a whole lot of high rocks Seattle carryover. And she looked comfortable out there. She looked able to use her fitness.
And Lauren lives in Utah where it's dry, it's hot, it's mountain. You don't have terrain like this. So for her to just come out and self-admittedly say, oh, I'm just not good at technical terrain and steep downhills and stuff. I know there wasn't the steep downhills, but this was crazy technical. And for her to only be 4 or 5 minutes behind a multiple-time world champion, just unbelievable performance by her.
How did she do on the obstacles?
She failed monkey in the middle, as did most athletes.
Did Nicole
as well.
Yeah, that? Wow.
She made it to beater at the end, and then instead of doing opposing grips while it was wet, she decided to go hand over hand, and then it just rotated on her, and she couldn't hang on. She would have made it. I think she was the least struggling out of all the athletes that we saw. But Sean Roberts, Brendan Neely, they did Rylan. They basically did a massive swing from the last beater to barely make it. So it was a tricky obstacle.
Beater can be hard, man. When it's wet. And if they put those bars a good distance apart, I think they did
up to the monkey after is tricky.
They debuted that in Jacksonville, I think.
Oh, monkey in the middle.
Beater.
They had it at Tahoe. Oh, beater. Yeah.
Beater was Jacksonville, and it was wet.
And only I think just Nicole got through. Yeah. Nobody else did it. Maybe Ashley Heller. I think she's a kind of chicken wing to through. Anyway, so
beater. Oh, that's horrible sounding.
She was just fighting to get across that thing. Any other takes on the ladies?
Cassandra Gill, a lot of potential. We knew her running background, sub 17 5K at Iona, and she was like a 35.09 roughly for her 10K. That's elite class for the women's field.
Yeah.
And she just hasn't put it together at bigger races. We saw her go to Morzine, take 10th in the ultra there. A lot of local podiums on the East Coast, but this was her breakthrough moment. And I think it's kind of going to be like Ryan Kempson when he just kept trying, finally made it through. And now she knows she can be here. And I could see her feeling like she belongs in that next group. She's not Nicole's level yet, but I think she can find herself in podium contention pretty much any race heading forward.
Well, and really only one person has ever been on Nicole's level.
Right. Yeah. Right. She's never, we have Nicole 2 or 3 all time.
Yeah.
3. And I think, tell me if this is disrespectful. I mean this in the most respectful way. I believe that the Riker line on the female side is now Rose Wetzel. I feel like she's the gatekeeper to elite, where she is more often than not, she's on the podium at these national events, and she's never outside the top 5. If you beat if you beat Rose Wetzel, you are generally an Annie, an Emma, someone who is just doing special things. And if you're racing her just behind her, you're primed to do something big. She seems to now be the gatekeeper to, are you one of the top 10 best women in the world?
I think that's fair. It's a higher line than on the men's side, but
but if we're looking at time gap, like Rose relative to,
she splits the difference. If you're not beating her, you're not contending for a world title, and if you are beating her, you might be able to.
Yeah, because Rose has very recently been on the OCR Worlds podium individually, so I can't say that she's and several Spartan National Series podiums. That's a very high line, but I can see where you're getting at in this argument.
Well, that's where that line first originated. It was basically like, if you can't beat this person, you're not going to make a National Series podium.
Rich, do you have the times? Just who's close behind? Who was 5th, 6th? Like how big of a gap behind Rose? And by the way, I also looked it up, and she had a grade 1 calf strain as of the beginning of the week. So I think your limping observation was probably correct, Bracken.
She gave it a shot.
And so could you just validate what I said? The first time I ever heard this line referenced in OCR, Hunter, I'm going to burn a bridge here. Hunter called Kent that line. He's like, Kent is the person who, like, if you beat Kent, you're elite. And if you don't beat Kent, then I'm not worried about you beating me in a race.
Ooh.
And Kent will take that as a chip on his shoulder, because
I like it.
His radar is set to do only that. But that's coming from Hunter. That's a compliment. If Hunter mentions you in the name in the realm of, these are people that could worry me in a race, and if you can beat this person, you worry me, that means whether he's admitting it or not, he's admitting that Kent can beat him in a race.
Yeah.
So Kent was the original line in this sport, and we saw how good he is.
Now, Casey Monroe was about 2.5 minutes behind Rose, and she has National Series podiums this year. She's been real close with Rose several times, and then there's a 10+ minute gap to Jordan Housliden, for instance, and that's kind of been what we've seen. We saw like Lisa Musacchio and Casey Monroe, and then big gap after that. I feel like Casey might be the line at the moment, but I hear you with your argument with Rose.
It depends what your definition of the line is, but it's one of those two.
Yeah, currently.
So anyways, the fact that she beat Rose,
I like it.
A huge event, a huge step in the right direction.
So let's power rankings. What do we think? Power 11. That's what we're doing here. Share the screen. Boom.
What's our window?
12-week window.
Where's that take us to?
Takes priority.
Mid-June. So Morzine still counts. Big Bear does not count.
Which this is the week. I forgot about this. This is now the week we get to remove people who have not raced since Alula.
Albin, Atkins.
Gone.
Bums.
Gone. Later.
I just took a Rich's roll there.
What do we do? Yeah, people are going to be mad at you. What do we do with our guy, Baylen Bean?
I mean, he's got to be.
Who just won the European Championship?
Basilico.
So I put him one behind.
This guy Frank Oosterom was 3rd in a FISO. Right?
Yeah, and he was like 5th or 6th in the other event. He had a good performance.
Tebow
got second. He's got to be ahead of Tebow, who got second.
Doesn't have to be like
Tebow. I don't think other things.
I don't think Pan American and European need to be on the same platform, like the same pedestal here.
Baylen has three big podiums this year.
Okay.
He has one big podium and he has 2 medium-large podiums.
Medium-large. Okay.
Just field in the first 2 podiums that we're talking about are not the same fields as what these 2 gentlemen were facing.
You think yes, but do you think that how much better was European Spartan over Pan American?
It was. I'm looking at the top 10 list right here. You had Basilico win by 12.5 minutes over 4th place. And most of the rest of the names are locally good people. I would say it was actually very comparable to what we saw at Pan Am. I think
how does Manuel Dufault do at Europeans?
That's a nasty mountain beast. Probably not as well, but he probably would have been about 5th.
Probably about the same. Yeah. He doesn't beat Luca or
no,
Thibaut.
not a mountain beast. He has a chance against them in like a super, a little bit flatter. He can obviously run mountains, but I don't think that Luca is very difficult to beat in the mountains, same as Thibaut.
I'm okay anywhere 5th through 8th.
I'm okay with 5th.
I'd put him 5th ahead of Frank or Franck.
All right. Hey, yeah.
I feel like it's very, very USA of us to put him over all of those based off this.
And I think that we should, because that's how we roll.
Okay, let's look at his second Franck's results. So a 3rd and a 6th, and he's had some local success. Yeah.
I was never on Team Franck. I was on Luca and Thibaut.
That's American of you, Rich, but no, Frank. Baylen has
just making that up.
A 1, 2, 3. You got 2nd in Utah, right? Or was he 3rd?
Stat guy.
I'm trying to remember. I'm looking up all these things. I don't have my spreadsheet in front of me, so.
I'm okay with this here. I like it, actually. What do we do about Brendan Neely?
He just won a National Series race in Kelowna. I know it's not the same, but
still.
he took 2nd. We have Sean Roberts, who just won a Savage National or a Savage Series race. Like, he could be in discussion, but I think Brendan 10 would be appropriate.
Pavel is now the line.
Pavel's the line.
2nd at Worlds, yeah. And now it's like, what about Ryland, who was touching the last obstacle at the same time as Brendan? Pavel, I don't think that he's.
What was the last thing Pavel did?
He's probably done a couple of. That was in Alula when he last raced, but I don't think that he wasn't at European Champs. He wasn't. He may have done a couple of European National Series races, but I don't think the prestige is there.
Are we sticking Ryland in here? Was Ryland 11th then? If we haven't seen Pavel,
does his Deca mile count?
No.
Why?
That's not OCR Power rankings. It says it right there.
Martin owns it.
No.
How about Sean Roberts' argument? 4th place at the National Series or at Pan Am and won a Savage Series.
Well, it can't be in front of Ryland if Ryland beat him.
I know. Well, I'm just listing more names. It's like if Sean might have been in consideration, Ryland has to be ahead of him. So Ryland would take this place because he beat him head to head.
Savage results count in my mind if you beat Kempson, Roberts, or Yuri Force.
So he beat Jordan McDougall.
True.
That ain't Yuri.
But that's not either of those other two.
He beat the Green brothers, Kevin Thompson, who's a beast at that, Brazilara.
If we're putting anybody 11th, it's Ryland.
Yeah.
Or Pavel. I'm okay keeping it. I don't.
Had he just beat Ryland, yes.
Right.
But the head-to-head here.
For sure.
Jordan McDougall has taken 2nd and 3rd more than he's won at Savage.
Yeah.
Very, very good at it. But Kempson and currently Sean are the litmus test at Savage, and Kempson wasn't there.
I think
this is Power 11.
This is a good mix of how results were at FISO and Spartan regional champs for both North America and US or Europe. So I think it has a pretty solid mix overall.
And it still goes to show that as much as we bag on Spartan, we rank them higher than anything else. The fact that Hawk and Baylen are so high up, it goes to show that we still do care about Spartan. Spartan is not dead yet.
I'm still torn if Basilico should be 3 versus 4 ahead of Hawk. I think he should be.
You were the one who voted Hawk up there.
Yeah, you would never disparage Hawk.
It's true, but having second thoughts now. This 12-week window thing.
He beat KBB, which means a lot to this podcast.
Yes,
especially when KBB races.
So are we moving 3 and 4?
Yeah,
I'm okay with it.
Big Bear doesn't count anymore.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Because it's outside the 12-week window.
Does that? Is that
Oh boy.
Is that how we want to do that? Like, is that what that? Like,
yeah.
Or are you basically arguing? So you've raced in the past 12 12 weeks. Let's look at your season overall, not just the past 12 weeks. Is that kind of what you're getting at, Rich?
Kind of. Like, I think the 12-week
it can't hurt you that you won Big Bear, realistically. Yes, it's a little far away and you've done
play
stuff
into
since
it.
then.
Yeah,
but Albin and Atkins, we know they'd be up on the list, but they haven't done anything, period, during this time. So
we don't know how fit they are.
If Atkins showed up and got third at this, which who probably wouldn't have, but if you showed up and got third, but he still got second at Alula, it's like you can't say that Alula didn't impact his ranking.
I just think you have to show up and remind people that you're powerful.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. So
I don't think it should be. I don't think the 12-week window should eliminate results from people who've raced since that race.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm still okay with switching Basilico and Hawk.
I think Basilico's had the better.
Sometimes you just need a second look. Sometimes you need a second look.
Yeah.
Like if John Albin comes back and runs, let's say OCR Worlds and wins it.
And wins both.
Alula comes back into play.
Oh, yeah.
In the conversation. We've seen him twice. He's beaten everyone twice. It's just that if you haven't raced in that 12-week window, we don't know if you are any good or healthy or fast right now.
You're basically shown as inactive, but as soon as you're active again, everything's on the table recently.
Yes.
Yeah.
To the ladies.
Oh, boy. Did this do enough to move Nicole up? I don't think so.
I don't think so.
She's in the right place right now.
The question now is Susanna. Who is the better best last 12 weeks? It's probably not enough to change either, huh?
Yeah, if we didn't change it last time, I don't see how we could change it now.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
This is more a Lauren Weeks conversation.
Exactly. She has a first and a second at 2 big OCR races, and she is not known as an OCR athlete, but she's...
How much did how far back was Esther from wait, who didn't someone beat her?
Andrea Barquez.
Oh yeah, how far back was Esther from Susanna and Andrea?
I want to say it was like a 5 plus or minus a couple minutes gap that Susanna won by. It was pretty substantial.
And Andrea was running with
her.
And Andrea was running with Susanna.
You saw that clip that I sent you.
That was cool.
That is an awesome looking course.
Oh, that's an amazing looking course.
Yeah.
So here's my question. If you put them all in the same race, pick neutral ground, neutral obstacle, that kind of thing. Let's go up the list until we get to someone that we can't say, I think Lauren would beat her in this race.
Okay,
would
let me just update real quick. 330 for Susanna, 337 basically for Andrea, and 339.30 for Esther. So about a 9-minute win.
Very longer course. Almost.
And I think that's going to coincide with this.
2.5 minutes for Andrea over Esther.
So Lauren Weeks in Seattle, or I don't care where,
Utah.
Put her in the mountains with Petra. Do we like Lauren's chances against her? Sarah,
Spartan?
Lena, Sandy. To me, it's Esther's the first time I say for sure Lauren loses.
But based off of the results we just saw, like Nicole and Susanna are not like
not too different.
I'm taking Nicole if they're on the same course. And
I'd put Lauren 8 right now.
That's
what I'm doing. Are we doing that only because we know how good Esther can be?
Yes.
She did not race well.
All right.
At European.
But she was 9 minutes down in 3.5 hours of racing.
I'm going to do percent of winner. We're going to decide this. Okay.
Do the percent of winner. All right, here we go.
All right. So we've got a.
Oh, it's actually going to be closer, isn't it? Than I thought.
Close. It's very close. I don't think it's out of the question.
95.7 for Esther. Can you look up Nicole's time? I had the European thing.
Yeah, I have it.
So 95.7. Remember that. So Nicole was 158.
That's WKLH radio station in my area.
158.47. I was going to say there's got to be somewhere. And then Lauren was 2:03.09.
96.3. She's closer.
96.3. Percent of winner comes in
for recency bias.
Percent of
winner has
a
win in the National Series race.
Is actually useful here. Are you kidding me? Percent of winner comes through.
Damn right it is. It's always useful. But now it's like, what about Andrea? I got to look her up.
It's useful because we chose to use it. Doesn't mean accurate. Just useful.
Oh, it's accurate.
Just the same way that the 12-week window is useful.
Yes.
All right. Andrea's like 96.7. So she's
very close. Okay.
Close.
I'm fine with this.
USA,
baby. Hey,
sent a winner. Not USA.
We're consistent. We're doing what we do on the show, being biased toward our own country, using silly mathematic equations to factor into things. So I like it. Lauren week 7th. Nicole doesn't move. Esther in 8th. It's crazy. We lost Petra Arvella, but we haven't really seen her since
Morzine.
Oh, she did Morzine. That's right.
Yeah. Ultra.
And she Lauren might just win Morzine.
I'm not saying.
I don't know about that because of how much descending there is.
It might.
She might.
Okay. Well,
her power hiking.
Ulrika was there. You think
is
she going to beat Ulrika?
Right now, yeah. She's on the shelf.
Yeah, she's beat up.
Her 12-week countdown has started.
In a deca mile, she'll smoke her.
Yeah.
All right. Nice job. Good job, guys.
I like it.
This is the most in agreement we've ever been.
We're locked in.
Well, I mean, we were pretty consistent with our drafts. We were, a point or two apart from each other, basically same style draft ability, almost in agreement on these power rankings. This is kind of weird, honestly.
What do we got coming up then? We have maybe it's just some quick news that we can cover. Chris Woolley taking the win down in Deca Fit Down Under is what we're calling it.
Melbourne. Is that how you say it?
31:11. Is that his time?
31:11. Yep.
31:11. Rock solid. I think it was a 3-lapper on turf.
Mm-hmm.
So
was it a 3-lapper? I know UK was definitely 2.
I think I talked to Chris for a second. I think he said
it's hard to make 250 on turf. You need a big facility.
That's true.
Do you see UK though?
Those times were very slow.
Guy in age group though, David Parkin, in the 35 to 39 age group, he went 32:04, and I was like, that seems weird. If elite was 34 something, he's like pretty big jacked guy, and he just ran a 16:13 for a 5K, and he averaged a 145 for a rower 5K. He was like 58. 145 on the rower for a 5K.
Ugh.
That's nasty. He looks like he has a high level cycling background, and he did like 58 something for open in High Rocks for his debut on there. So he might be a name to watch. I think he could do some damage.
Testing.
We'll see him. I'm sure we'll see him in, what was his name?
David Picard, I want to say.
I'm sure we'll see him in some sort of, have we looked him up in?
David Parkin from the UK.
Look him up real quick, and then we'll wrap this thing up.
Sure.
What's the last name?
PAR. It's Dave J. Parkin.
Ian?
Parkin.
He has run like 76.
Has he? Okay.
In a High Rocks.
Okay. Pro. I was just looking. Yeah.
Where did he do his 58?
Maybe I typed in the wrong name or something. Because 58:03 Malaga. Right there.
58
on his Dave Parkin 58:03.
That's maybe
that's open division. It's not pro.
Yeah, okay.
But that was the one that he ended up doing.
But if you can do 58 flat open, you're not going slower than 64, 65 pro.
Yeah. Oh, here we go. I had the wrong thing. I had the wrong person. Yeah, he was 61.
What's his running looking like?
61:53 in Nice.
Okay, so a 61 guy is he's just for sure a 32 deca guy.
Yeah.
In Nice, he was running fast too. 29:46 for.
Yeah, because he went 16:13 in a 5K. Looks like a bigger guy, and he was a cyclist. So I was like, he might be a name to watch. Just who knows how he'll do. But that one stood out because he won overall despite not being in the elite division. So
there was also some prize money announced for High Rocks at the majors. We're up in things: 7,500 for a win, 5,000 for second, 3,500 for third, 3,000, 2,500, 2,000, 1,500, 1,000, 750 from 9th to 10th, then 11th through 15th gets 500. So
no one's gonna say no to accepting a spot now.
Yeah, 500 is like something.
You got to travel somewhere and race against people. You're probably going to travel for a couple races anyway. Why not go to one where they're going to cover some of the costs, especially with how difficult it is to get in the majors these days.
Hyrox makes you a rock star these days.
They're trying. They're certainly trying. I love some of these comments are like, is that just for pro?
Every age group.
Every age group gets this.
It's not a Lula.
I saw someone had like an argument. It's like, age groupers are bringing in the money. We should pay them. And it's like,
you should pay the fans in the NFL bleachers.
Exactly. Oh, Lord. All right.
Do people forget how consumerism works?
I don't know.
Every time a company makes money, it's because of the little people who came there and spent money. And they don't give kickbacks to the customers.
We're not getting kickbacks.
Is that how business works?
I think so.
Okay.
From Mizuno, from wearing all those Rebellion Pro 2s. They're not paying me for that.
Oh, Rich.
Second best Mizuno ever.
You got a spike out there? Is that a
Geo Sniper?
Is that
wearing those at Hyrox?
Is that a strap? What are those freaking triple jumpers? Did you wear
this
a relay?
This is a 400/800 shoe.
Oh, oof.
that's his triple jump relay.
Yeah.
This looks so funky. I got this off Dick Pond Athletics. Remember that?
That's old school, man.
For $19 when they went basically extinct.
Have you worn them?
I put them on one day to just do strides in college, and I had never felt better in a spike. I don't know what they did to that shoe. It just felt like this is how you run fast. And I wore them for every 400 of my college career in a couple 8s. I ran 153 in that shoe.
All right.
You strap those spikes on for that road 728. What do we got? 728? 58?
What's the distance?
752.
752.
Do you guys not care about me?
Not bad,
we should pay better attention to your standard distance.
Anyway, never has there been a shoe that looked worse and performed better than that shoe.
I like it. Mizuno, but they're not paying you for that. Not yet.
Now, they use really heavy materials, but to get around the weight,
cut holes.
They just flat out had holes all over this shoe.
No support.
Sometimes it's just that
Pinky
simple.
would sneak out.
I love that they do that sometimes. Like, how are we going to reduce the weight? Just start cutting it.
Holes.
Just start cutting cut the bottom of it up, cut the top of it up.
Only the realists know about the Geo Sniper.
No, that's true. I don't have that. Jack, do you have something?
I was just gonna add a follow-up. I shared the phishing email that you mentioned, or the story about your dad racking last week, because Audrey got one of those also and didn't pass the test.
She didn't pass.
Oh my goodness.
Yes.
So
I'm gonna tell Pete.
Yeah.
So we have Hyrox Cape Town, the first African Hyrox coming up. Stuttgart will be in 2 weeks on the 28th, and that really is the last chance to qualify into Amsterdam, then Toronto, the first North American race of the season, coming up in October 5th. So we have some Hyrox on deck, but not too much.
It'll turn into Hyrox season pretty soon. Don't worry.
Oh, it will.
Yeah,
it will. All right, squad. What we got on TRP?
We have coming out this week our Ian Hosick interview. Talking
Nice.
a little bit of training, a little bit of life, a little bit of upcoming OCR Championships, USAs.
Very good.
USA.
Cool.
Very good. We had just a regular episode on RMR, the squad, talking about what's going on. We'll probably do a Q&A. I'm like, man, TRP, they're crushing out there with just these Q&As. Let's see about these things.
Early
Rich,
and often.
How's your swimming going?
Poorly. I popped in yesterday, and I was gonna do 8 to 10 by 100, or like 30 seconds of rest in between or whatever. And aqua aerobics kicked me out. I almost popped in. I was like, let me see what kind of stimulus I can get with these underwater dumbbells.
I see you did like an 800 or something the other day, averaging 2 flat. 500
yard.
Lion. Should be a lifeguard.
I had been a lifeguard. I can get there.
Too muscly these days.
It sinks like a rock.
Yeah.
When I was warming up for that thing, I was like, man, this is going to take me a long time. 10
Have
minutes.
You done a try?
No.
Okay.
There's nothing more humbling than when you're aerobically fit but aren't a good swimmer, and then hopping in the pool and be like, wow, I suck.
Inefficiencies are very costly in the pool.
Yep.
Jack, can you swim? Well,
not well. I will not drown, but I'm not a good swimmer.
All right, so I'm just going to stake the claim that I'm the best swimmer on this podcast.
What was last time? When was
That's
last
the
time
only
you
thing,
did?
probably only event I can beat you 3 in.
Have you done a 500?
Well, the last try I did had like a 750 or 800 meter swim, and I averaged like 133 open water.
How long ago?
I don't know. Recently?
Not since
For
race
me?
brain?
Post-COVID?
No, come on now.
That's not recent then.
Yeah.
But I swam for rehab.
We're kicking out
post-COVID.
results
I'm a
12 weeks
swimmer.
later. Your result doesn't count 5 years ago.
I'm just saying that I'll beat you guys in swimming.
Dude,
I'm not a good swimmer, but I'm better than you two bums.
Are you flip turning?
Yeah.
Not in open water.
That's the problem. I would get to the side and be like,
you got to find a person
to
turn around with.
Start backstroking.
Yeah.
That being said, now I toot my own horn. I'm going to use this platform to make an announcement.
Oh, wow.
Oh,
I'm out of Chicago.
Oh,
Bracken. That's the only reason I signed up.
Not what we wanted to hear.
What?
Hey, look at the name.
That's true. He does.
Yeah.
He does.
What happened?
Braden's got some postseason racing.
What happened, Bracken?
Braden's got some postseason racing.
Oh, he's crushing enough that
Gotcha.
he's in the postseason.
Well, I mean, you don't qualify. You choose to go. You pay to get in. They're not like, hey, you deserve it. They're like,
oh, it's like Spartan.
Does the credit card work?
Yeah, just like Spartan. So basically what you're saying is the highest bidder might be able to get one of those exclusive sold out spots to High Rock Chicago.
Yeah, I have a pro ticket if anyone needs it. So reach out.
Okay.
I was going to float it by Dylan Scott first because he's like the hybrid plug. But
now let me see if I can find anybody who needs it. If you don't.
All right. So for those listening, Rich has first dibs.
Yep.
Then you guys are up next. So Jack,
I already paid, bought my flight. Was ready to whoop you.
I'll tell you after you race what I would have run time-wise.
Yeah, after.
People love that.
But I am healthy.
Bracken, I promise I won't poop this race either. Just
I don't want to like that promise.
All right, squad, we're wrapping this thing up. Thanks for joining Race Brain Podcast. Make sure to subscribe, drop a review, send us to a friend. Anybody who loves OCR, take a look at that link down in the show notes to give to USAOCR. We will be donating here at Race Brain, so we hope that you do the same. We'll talk to you guys soon.